All right, it's late summer and we've got our August Beer Club picks in. Let's go through them real quick and then taste them. We've got the Errant, Little Green Clouds. Happy to see this one in. The Fesbier from Weihenstephaner. Talk about happy to see it, man. Return of a classic Saison Brett from Boulevard, and Terrordens from Old Irving Brewing, a new one from them as well. So a lot of seasonals, a lot of a returning beer, and two new ones. Very excited. Let's get into it right away. All right, so this time of year is, in my mind, the best time of year for seasonal beers. That is the late summer into fall time. I think just my favorite, and the beers that really kind of go with the season the best happen right now. And top of the list is definitely the Oktoberfest beers. Obviously, Oktoberfest is a long-standing German celebration. Kicks off in late September. I know it's called Oktoberfest, but as with everything, we're starting to get a little creep, and these beers are coming in a little bit early. For me, some of these beers, I don't mind them coming in early. I am very, very excited to see them coming around. Perennially, one of my favorites is the Weihenstephaner. I try the various offerings from Oktoberfest style beers every year, and more often than not, Weihenstephaner comes in up high in my favorites every year. If some of you are thinking that, it's still kind of warm out and these beers are just a little too malty for me, I think, now remember, there are two different distinct styles of Oktoberfest that have kind of come into the market these days. There's the Marzen or Märzen, which is the old style, traditional, more malty style of Oktoberfest. And then there's the Fesbier style. And this is going to be closer to what is actually served at Oktoberfest. It's going to be lighter. It's going to have a tiny, not a tiny bit, a little bit more malt. And I think for this time of year, it's absolutely fine. I've had a few of Fesbier so far this year. I have not had the Weihenstephaner Fesbier yet this year, so we're going to be trying it for the first time. Why is it in the beer club if you haven't even tried it yet? Well, I have this beer every year. As I said, it's almost always at the top of my list. They are the oldest brewery in the world, and I have a high level of confidence, let's just say that this beer is going to be really nice. Now, as I was pouring it, you can see that this beer is not super amber. It's fairly golden, and the color of a beer is going to dictate what the malt profile is. As malts get toasted more, they become dark, just as you toast bread or really kind of roast or toast anything. You bring on more and more of those flavors, and they have a corresponding color to it. So I can tell already, is it going to be as light as like a Bud Light? Absolutely not. I don't want it to be, but it will be light enough for this time of year. I think this is actually a great time of year. This, like the next month, 6 weeks, is Fesbier season in my mind. Wonderful. So just a hint of toasted biscuit right there. So there's a lot of bread, but there's a hint of the toasted element to it. You're not getting a lot of hops. This is all about the malt here. All right, that's what these German lagers are really trying to hone in on. My goodness. I mean, after it being 100 degrees, 90 degrees, and you just want to go as light as possible, sometimes even a Pilsner can be too aggressive. I'm going to the Helles or even just a pale lager. The weather has calmed down a little bit, and this is the style of lager that I want to have right now. A little bit fuller, but I mean just a little. You can still drink the it's not going to feel like it's out of place in the summer, at least in the late summer. So if the cicadas are out and you're hearing them, that to me is a sign that we're ready for this type of beer. Very clean, a little bit of body to it, just the most wonderful example of this style of beer. I absolutely love it. If you're looking for another one, pardon me, the Paulaner Fesbier. They make both. They make a Märzen and a Fest. The Paulaner is also great, but how can you not have one from a brewery that has been around since 1040? Absolutely awesome. The Weihenstephaner Fesbier. Quick note on this Fesbier. It is an appellation or a protected term, Oktoberfest beer in Germany. I don't know if in U.S. we really abide by that, but that is why you'll see variations on Oktoberfest. If it says Oktoberfest, there's a good chance it's one of the big 6 Munich breweries that are actually serving at Oktoberfest. But if it says Festbier or Märzen or something like that, it's probably in that style, but not in that little Munich zone. So there you go. But absolutely wonderful beer. One of my favorites. It's really fresh. That's the other thing, that these beers are kind of cycling through, that they haven't been sitting around forever and getting stale. Absolutely lovely beer. Okay, this is the first time we've had St. Errant in the beer club in quite a while. Not the first time overall, but it's been a bit. St. Errant is a Chicago brewery. They are known for big hazy, double dry hops, double IPAs, a lot of stouts, a lot of pastry stouts, stuff like that. And I think it's a sign of the times a little bit that St. Errant is coming out with their first lower alcohol, I think they're calling it, Session Pale Ale. This is Little Green Clouds. It's dry hop with Citric Galaxy, so, St. Errant's not straying too far from what they know, but at 4.2% alcohol, I think, that's just the trend that a lot of breweries are going towards, beers that are just a little bit more drinkable. So I'm going to pour this into my little half Nonic. Normally I would probably reserve this for a slightly stronger beer, but I don't know. This is the glass that I grabbed. You can see certainly a hazy beer. Quite nice looking. My goodness. Wow. Tropical hops just jump out of a glass. Passion fruit, grapefruit, lemon, lime. I guess those are citrus, but they're warm weather fruits. Passion fruit's tropical. Yeah, all those, you put out all those tropical fruits out there, guava, papaya, it's in there. Very nice. Doesn't have a lot of harsh green aromas to it. Sometimes when you get a beer that is just overly hopped, it smells almost like raw hops. It has a vegetal smell to it. So this is really nice. Okay. It's dry. Okay. If you're used to those big, juicy, when I say juicy hazy beers, I mean ones that have the sweetness of orange juice. This has that tropical fruit medley, but it's dry. It's easy drinking. A little bit of bitterness, almost has a slight chalky finish to it as well. A drying astringency, and but really just the perfect amount. As I'm talking, my mouth is drying. Those kind of hops are working their magic and doing what they do, the bitterness side of them, drying my mouth out. You can see me kind of wanting to get moisture in my mouth. What do you do when you want to get moisture in your mouth? You pick up a drink and you take a sip. That's what the best brewers know. They want it to be a subtle transition. They want your mouth to dry out, and then you grab maybe a nice piece of juicy food, fatty food, or you take another sip. That's why some of these beers go so well with certain foods, and why that's what kind of drinkability is. Wonderful, excellent foam retention too. Look at the lacing on that glass already. Very nice beer. If you like hazy beers, you like them on the dry side, and want something that you can just, not get palate fatigue after half a can, this Little Green Clouds is right there for you. Another pale ale from a local Chicago brewery. This was coming from Old Irving. This beer is Terrordens, named after a local heavy metal band that founder and head brewer of Old Irving, Trevor, I don't remember his last name, is also a member of the band. Apparently it is named after or kind of inspired by their first album, Loveless in the Light, Deathless in the Dark. And again, it's in that trend of pale ales. Tons of different hops in here, a big medley, does it right across the top. It's Chinook, Eclipse, Sabro. A bunch of the big ones here. So not going to be quite as hazy as the Saint Errant, as you can see. It is a West Coast style, as they're calling it, pale ale. So you might get a little bit of a haze. It's not going to be crystal clear. It's not going to look like the Fesbier from Weihenstephaner, but quite an attractive beer. Okay, nice head going there. The hop profile on this is much lighter. I don't mean it's less intense. I mean the flavors are of things that I consider to be kind of lighter flavors, but they are there. It's a little bit more green, a little more floral. Yeah, it has almost like a flowery aroma to it. There is a little bit of lime and citrus there too. Very nice. And then if you really kind of dig deep, you get some of the malt, and it kind of plays with this like green and toasty character. Very lovely aroma. Okay. When you're tasting it, it kind of jumps out at you a little more. I'm getting a lot of orange and orange blossom in here. And when I say orange blossom, I just mean the combination of the flavor of orange and some flowers. Do I know what an orange blossom distinctly smells like? No, but hopefully you got the idea and didn't think too much. What a pretentious jerk. You don't know me that well. You don't know that I am one. So you got to give me the benefit of the doubt. A hint of almost like a coconutty thing in there, just maybe a hint. Some like lemony, lemongrass aroma too. Very much hop driven, also dry. Hint of sweetness in here. I think it's just a bit sweeter than the Saint Errant was, but those hops do what they do, and they erase your perception of that sweetness. Is the beer literally less sweet now? No, there's just as much sugar as it when I first took a sip, but the hops mask my ability to taste that sweetness. So that's why a beer starts out sweeter when you first taste it and then dries out. And that transition should be subtle. You almost shouldn't notice it. But now there is a bitterness in my mouth. It isn't quite as cloying or quite as aggressive and dry as a Saint Errant, but it's still very pleasant, and I'm getting a lot of the combinations of the hop and the malt character in this beer. Very drinkable. Nice beer. I really like the combination of the hops. It's a pretty widespread profile of the hops. It's cool, so it'll be fun to kind of drink. And if you want to think about what you're drinking, There's a lot to pull out of this one. If you want to just go ahead and enjoy it, it's certainly good for that too. This is the Terrordens from Old Irving. Okay, I needed to save not the best for last. That's not fair, but the one I am the most excited for last. If you're a really old person like me, you will remember Saison Brett from Boulevard was a special beer. It was, whoa, it's starting to come out. Did you see that creeping out? You see that? That's why you put the cages on the beer. This thing is going to pop, and it's going to go all over the place. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that thing just creeping out. My goodness. Okay. There is live yeast in here, wild yeast, Brettanomyces, and they're going to continue to consume sugars that normal brewers' yeast will not. And as they consume those sugars, they make CO2. So a lot of these wild beers are highly carbonated as a result. That's how the bubbles get into beer. It's from the natural fermentation process. So Brett, when they put in the bottle, has to be in this real thick glass because it's under a lot of pressure. That's why they put cork and cages on them versus caps. The pressure could pop the cap. I kind of will get into a little bit of the story of this beer, but just watch. Should we just let it go? Should we just let it shoot up? Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's just going to keep coming. I'm going to help it out. Whoa. Let's see. Shot out of there, but hey, that's good. It's not so much that the CO2 is going to rush out in geyser and stuff like that. So perfect. The cage did its job. So well done to a Boulevard. This beer, man, I don't remember the last time I've had it. Look at all that foam though, see? Okay, that's what was causing all of that pressure. Let it go, man. Like, let that foam out. It's better to get it out in the glass than have it in your stomach, because if you pour it gently, that gas is still going to be trapped in the liquid, and it'll certainly come out when it gets into your stomach, and you'll feel fuller and gassier. So this is a completely fine pour. If you think he's just saying that because he doesn't want to be embarrassed, he's supposed to be a pro and know how to pour beer, I promise you, this is a perfectly good pour. And if you let it go down for a while, you could get this foam to get at least this high. So, you know what? Let's do it. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll get this beer really kind of towering up over the glass. All right, the beer has the foam has settled down, stabilized a little bit, and now we'll pour some more. We should be able to get it going. I'll give it a nice gentle pour and see if we can get it towering up. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. There we go. Look at that. Maybe I went a little too far and it souffled a bit, but so what? You're telling me that doesn't look cool? So, Saison Brett, you can tell obviously there's a lot of effervescence in this beer. Many of you probably know Tank 7 from Boulevard, kind of the classic American, new style Saison. Well, it was the new style. Now there's a neo Saison that has kind of come around. It's a little bit more rustic, but this was the American style Saison, farmhouse ale. And in Saison Brett, they kind of take that Tank 7 as a base, and then they add Brettanomyces to it, and that gives it a little bit of this old world funk to it as well, because in addition to drying out the beer more than many brewers' yeasts would, it also imparts kind of distinct earthy characters as well. So, my goodness, wow. So you've got this apricot, you've got peach and stone fruit, stuff like that. And you have a distinct earthy, dusty quality to it as well. And I don't mean musty, I just mean like hay and just these earthy undertones to it. It smells absolutely delicious. There's still some sweetness to this beer, just a hint. It's not a sweet beer. There's some body to it. This beer you can age. The Brettanomyces will help kind of protect this beer. It'll scavenge and kind of eat up a lot of the things that will age the beer, like oxygen. And while it's doing it, it'll continue to dry the beer out until it is bone dry and give even more assertive Brettanomyces character. So if you buy a couple bottles, 3, 4, you can age them for a little while and see how they develop. Is one definitively better than the other? It's not. No, they change, and if you have a preference, then you can kind of figure out how much Brett character you like. Famously, people do this with Orval as well. A lot of people like 6-month-old Orval. Some people prefer a year-old Orval. That's the fun thing about these wild or semi-wild beers. I mean, this beer is like begging for food, a cheese plate, even like something like a hamburger, like anything. Very something fatty though. This wants a something fatty, and those are kind of the two things that came to mind. But then again, I could see this going really well with like roast chicken or kind of lighter meats as well. Play around with it, but just see what this goes with. Do this beer a favor and pair it with some food. This will pair better than most wines. Wonderful, delicate beer, a special beer. I'm so happy to have it back. Hopefully it'll be back year in and year out. The Boulevard Saison Brett. Well, I'm going to keep this one in my glass. I've been looking forward to this beer. That was it for the August Beer Club selections. I hope you enjoyed them. If you're interested in signing up for them, there should be a link somewhere down here. And until next month, please go out and enjoy some beers. Cheers.